Starting Tech News Weekly in 3, 2, 1.
Everybody, welcome to Tech News Weekly. I'm your host, Wild Pegasus 9. This is a show where we talk about technology. We talk about, it's not only just talking about the news. We kind of debate the news, and then we talk about other things. It's a lot going on here. I'm Wild Pegasus 9. I'm joined by Andrew Zarian. How you doing, Andrew?
Hey, I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm doing great. Where are the pills? You're missing the pills in this outfit.
I am. I got to get my prescription, and you know what an ordeal that is to have to go out every single week to go to, Montauk, New York, and it takes 2 hours to do it. It just screws up my whole freaking day.
It's Massapequa.
Oh, is it?
It is. You were close, though. You got the M. I mean, you were really close. This is our Halloween show for people that are watching this possibly 2 weeks from now. The show's recorded on Halloween. And I'm dressed up, and John is obviously me, and we're gonna try to do a serious show. We're gonna totally ignore the fact that I'm dressed. I have no pants on, by the way. I don't know if you guys have seen this. So if I stand up, there's no pants. It's just the wrestling.
Whoa!
Wrestling underwear. Just socks stuffed into my shorts.
That's more than I needed to see.
Well, you're gonna see a lot more today, John. I'm telling you. If I do the free-for-all, things are not going to go well at the end of the day. So why don't we, because we're going to talk about this for like hours if we don't go into a story here. But why don't you pick a story, John?
Why don't we start with something kind of nice out there? One of the bigger stories this week was actually announcements from both Marvel and Warner Brothers regarding DC comic movies and Marvel movies that are planned for the future. I know a lot of people have been talking about this, and they've got stuff planned from now until 2020. Are there any movies on this list that you saw that you're really interested in?
So there's a couple. I mean, I want to see. We spoke about this yesterday on Behind the Counter. We kind of touched on the DC stuff, but I want to see Batman versus Superman.
Really?
So I want to see Suicide Squad. I don't really care for Doctor Strange. Guardians 2, obviously. Wonder Woman, I don't care for. Thor, I'll see. Don't care for Black Panther. Justice League, I want to see. Flash, I don't know. Avengers, Infinity War, definitely want to see. Captain, I want to see. Aquaman, I want to see. Inhumans, don't care for. Shazam, I don't care for. Avengers, Infinity Wars Part 2, I want to see. Justice League 2, I want to see. So a lot of them I want to see, actually.
Yeah, this is funny though because I'm a little bit opposite of you in the sense that there's a lot of movies here that I'm interested in seeing, but they're all pretty much Marvel movies.
You're not almost a Marvel fan?
No, I like Marvel movies. Most Marvel movies I do like. It's the problem I have are the DC titles.
Yeah, DC's kind of lacking. I mean, they really don't have too many titles. They're gonna have Justice League, which is gonna be their Avengers.
Yeah, but here's the thing: is I'm going to judge this based off of the Man of Steel movie that came out a couple years ago with Henry Cavill. And they're going to do this Batman versus Superman movie with Ben Affleck and Henry Cavill. And I have absolutely no interest in that after seeing Man of Steel. And I believe Man of Steel was also directed by Zack Snyder, which is doing the same movie, Batman versus Superman.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Well, do you know the whole story of Batman versus Superman? It's not a continuation. It's an older Batman. So it's like
they have the same people. They have the same actor playing Superman. So
yeah, but
and it's directed by the same guy. So I have absolutely zero interest in that. If it's going to be anything like Man of Steel, which I thought was an absolute bore fest.
I mean, I'm curious on how Ben Affleck is going to play Batman. Everybody was crapping on it. I don't think he's going to do an awful job. I'm curious to see how well he does it. And he's a fan of the series, so I think he won't screw it up really. But the whole thing is it's an older Batman, and it's kind of taking place at the same age as Dark Knight, and you really don't know. Like, it's not a continuation of that storyline. It's its own entity, and that's the only thing I'm worried about with that series.
I don't know. I'm like I said, I'm just more interested in all of these Marvel movies. Age of Ultron is coming out as well.
Yeah.
Even Doctor Strange, because it's Benedict Cumberbatch, I think that's going to have a lot of interest automatically just because of that. Guardians of the Galaxy 2 is coming out 2017. Definitely interested in that. Any Thor movie I'm interested in. Captain Marvel, even that's something that would interest me.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good ones coming out. It's
Most
so
of
many.
them are Marvel. They're
Yeah.
on this list that we have. I would say that 80% of these movies are Marvel movies. And Marvel has a freaking track record. I don't think DC has a track record with their movies as well as Marvel has. Because you can go back, you can look at Iron Man, Avengers, Transformers, to a degree. Just all the Marvel movies lately have been a very big hit, especially Guardians of the Galaxy, which just came out.
Yeah, you like that movie a lot.
Oh, it was awesome. I don't think you could find a whole lot to not like about that movie.
I just watched the last X-Men.
This is really hard, by the way, with you in that mask.
Are
Not
you
to
having a
laugh.
difficult time?
Yes.
I could take it off.
No.
I mean, I can. I don't know how long I'm going to be able to keep this up because this thing is like cutting into my eyes. And I'm having a hard time like seeing the lettering. It's like blocking me on this side. It's like I'm partially blind by this thing. Everybody says that my new name should be the Bulge Warrior.
And yes, you guys can suggest titles in our chat room using the #bang S.
#bang? What is it called?
Or the exclamation mark symbol. Yeah.
Who calls it a #bang?
That's what they normally have on Twitter, the hashtag and the bang symbol, which is the exclamation mark.
I didn't know that. I had no idea that's what it was called.
Yeah.
You learn something new every day. Wild Pegasus has learned today. I want to touch on this with you. Amazon is going after Roku and Chromecast with a $39 Fire Stick. This is really awesome because right now, I think the promotion ended. Last week, if you had ordered this thing, it was $20. I ordered one, but I'm not getting it till after the new year because it's everybody ordered it. But for $39, you're essentially getting everything you get with the Amazon Fire TV, just lacking the game titles. It's a little slower, but who cares?
Yeah, if you look at the
$39.
specs for this thing, it literally is the Amazon Fire TV with watered down specs. It's literally half of the specifications that you would get with the Amazon Fire TV. So instead of 2 gigabytes of memory, it's only got 1 gigabyte memory. Instead of a quad core CPU, it's only a dual core CPU, which still is not terrible. It's just watered down specs from the Amazon TV. And it's more than just a Chromecast because it's actually more of a set-top box similar to the Roku streaming stick and the Amazon Fire TV than it is something that just simply streams stuff from another device.
Yeah, like people are talking, they're like, oh yeah, this is like it's nothing like a Chromecast.
No,
it's
not
nothing
really.
like the Chromecast is essentially. I mean, for me, and a lot of people are going to be upset that it's a useless device when you could get something like the Amazon stick or the Roku stick, and Roku does streaming now. I mean, you could beam, I guess, whatever's on your computer or tablet to the Roku, so you could essentially do everything
in its own right.
Yeah,
but it's still depending on actually having another device, whereas this Amazon Fire Stick is its own thing. You don't have to have anything else to go with it in order to use it.
Yeah, I think it's a phenomenal little device. I wish it was available because I would have bought this for everybody for Christmas. You could get the Kindle, the Amazon Fire TV, but this device for $39, John, you're getting everything you can with the Roku. You're getting everything you could with Apple TV, essentially.
Yeah, it's almost like the entry level kind of set-top box for people that are looking to get their feet wet or have a very small budget to work with for getting into this sort of environment of connecting web TV to your TV.
Also,
basically.
let me say this. The specs are better on this device than they are on Apple TV.
Well, yeah, but like Paul said on Want the Tech, the Apple TV is a couple years old now. So I don't know that you can fairly compare the Apple TV to this because the Apple TV just hasn't been updated
It's a
in
dog,
two and a
man.
half years.
I have an Apple TV, and I really wish it was updated like Roku is, and it's really fallen behind if you compare it to Roku. If you compare it to the Roku 3, you compare it to the Kindle, the Amazon Fire TV, and even if you compare it to what Google's doing with their Nexus box, the Nexus Play.
I'm really surprised that Apple did not even come out with hardware changes for the Apple TV. I mean, they just had their recent event back in the second week, I think it was, of October. They didn't need to announce anything there, but they could have still rolled out some hardware updates to the Apple TV and just not announced it.
Oh, but by the way, I had to take.
But they didn't even do that.
I had to take the mask off. It was getting really difficult to do the show. It was cutting into my eye. Now I just look weird.
Yeah.
I mean,
like a kid.
Now I look like a lunatic.
You're a kid with the cape.
Yeah, that's exactly what maybe I'll put it on a little bit. I actually want to get the Kindle Fire, the Fire TV.
How come?
Because Colm has it, and he swears by this thing. He says it's so much better than the Roku, and it's so much better than everything else that he has.
Really?
It's super fast. I mean, he's like, it's mind-blowing how fast the UI is. So just for that reason, I kind of want to get it because I'm really tired of Apple TV.
I don't think you can go wrong right now either way with a Fire TV or a Roku 3. I think they're both great choices. As far as budget goes, you have basically the Nexus player, which we have yet to hear much about, and the Chromecast as far as alternatives to the Fire TV stick. Whereas the Fire TV stick is more like the Roku streaming stick.
Yeah.
So I don't know if even comparing it to a Chromecast is a fair comparison.
But I mean, is this a feature of these devices really? Like, why would you opt if you had the option to go with a streaming, like one of these sticks, or go with the set-top box, the bigger device? Why would you really go with the bigger device if you don't really play games? Most people want to hide this
specs, thing. If somebody there's going to be people like me that see this and I'm like, if I had the budget and I'm not worried about, here's the things. I still, in a way, would rather go for a full-blown Fire TV just because of the specs and my use of the Roku 3, which is nice, but at the same time, I see the specs for the Fire TV, and that's just freaking amazing. So I would almost, in a way, do that just as an enthusiast. But for people that aren't necessarily an enthusiast or tech-oriented, I can definitely see them going for these smaller budgeted devices.
Absolutely.
Like the Fire TV stick.
If Colm is watching, I put my mask back on because I look stupid without it. My hair is not done.
Well,
so
most people. Here's the thing. Most people, I don't think, do any sort of gaming.
Nobody does.
On these
well, that was
boxes.
my question. That was going to be my question to Colm. Like, do you game on this thing? Do you actually play games when you're, using the set-top box? And what's the gaming experience like on this device? That's my question. So
how I could see something like that working is with these more casual games where you can just leave it going the whole time, because this is something that my brother does. He has a computer at home with some of his games on Facebook that run all the time, some sort of Viking game, I think, and you just leave this thing running all day long. So I could see something like that being kind of interesting on a set-top box like the Roku 3 or the Fire TV.
Yeah,
where you just have this game running all the time on your TV. You can switch to it anytime you want and see updates and control your game that way.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, you got to treat it like it's a larger iPad or tablet. It's the same quality gaming, really. You're probably going to get better gaming out of this device, but there's so many great titles on Android and iOS that, you could really benefit from this.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, John. Pick another story.
So I kind of want to talk about this whole scandal that's going on with Rite Aid and CVS supposedly blocking Apple Pay. Apple Pay launched, I believe, on Monday.
Yeah.
And a lot of people at first said they were going to CVS and Rite Aid,
Last
and
Monday.
were able to,
Last Monday.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and said that they were able to use their Apple Pay at these places. And then all of a sudden, they were no longer able to do that a couple days later. And so a lot of stories came out saying that CVS and Rite Aid were blocking Apple Pay. But what it turns out is that they're not necessarily blocking it. Rite Aid and CVS are partners in this consortium called MCX. I forget exactly what MCX stands for, something merchant exchange.
Yeah.
And they have this application that they're developing called CurrentC, which is going to be a competitor to Apple Pay. And so this has a lot of people riled up in the fact that they were able to actually use Apple Pay until MCX decided that, oh, wait, we have NFC enabled on our terminals, and we don't want our competitors to use NFC.
Well, Google Wallets as well. You can't use Google Wallet.
Yeah, correct.
So this is the thing that I fear is going to happen with all these stores. They're going to sign deals with these other companies that do express checkouts and NFC-based checkouts, and everybody's going to use something else. Like some place they're going to accept CurrentC, some place they're only going to accept Google Wallet, some place they're going to accept Apple Pay, because you're going to sign these deals with these companies.
Yeah.
It's, I don't know, it's kind of alarming, right? That this is going to happen where if you don't have a certain device or run a certain application, you're not going to be able to use NFC.
This is the way I look at this, and it's rather sad because of how we have society today. This, in a way, reminds me, I guess, I'm not 100% sure on my history here, but this reminds me back of the early days whereby not every single store accepted MasterCard or Visa or American Express. I mean, you still have that to a degree today, but in large part today, you can go to any retailer, use American Express, MasterCard, or Visa. And I don't think that was necessarily the case back when credit cards really started becoming of age, back in the 80s and 90s.
Well, I mean, there's still places that don't accept American Express, I have actually experienced something so bizarre. I went to go pay a bill on the phone. I totally forgot about the bill. I wasn't online, so I called to pay the bill. And 2 places that I've done this to no longer accept Visa. They accept everything except for Visa. I mean, I've heard about Amex because the percentage is higher on American Express.
The fees.
But
which is exactly
never
why MCX is pushing their CurrentC platform, because the way that CurrentC is going to work is that it ties into your bank account, bypassing credit cards altogether, so that retailers skip the middleman and they just get the fees directly. They don't have to pay fees for the credit card processing.
But who's going to put in their bank information to this company? Nobody does that. Everybody uses a debit card if that's what you're doing.
Yeah, and this is part of the problem, is that the way that CurrentC is supposed to work is very different than Apple Pay, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but they're depending on people actually entering in their bank information, which is going to be stored in the cloud. It may be encrypted, but that still means that your information is still out there in the cloud for somebody to hack. So if CurrentC gets hacked, their information is compromised, which they did have a small data breach this week of customer information, mostly email addresses. Mm-hmm. But that still goes to show you. Plus, the other weird thing with CurrentC is that the way it works is that you have to open up their application and either scan a QR code or generate a QR code for the retailer to scan, which is bizarre in itself.
That's stupid.
You're going to have to use it this way.
So it's Rite Aid and who else?
CVS and a whole bunch of other ones. Best Buy, Walmart.
Oh, wow, there's other one.
Oh, there's 220,000 partners right now in the merchant customer exchange.
And are they all saying no to Google Wallets as well, or is it just Apple?
Yes, it's in their contract that they can only accept CurrentC payments.
Wow.
And while their terminals do have NFC capability, they are being told to turn that off and disable it, so that Google Wallet and Apple Pay does not work with their systems. Which is funny because, in effect, you're not even going to be able to use these systems until 2015 when they roll this out. It's not even rolled out yet. They're still developing this technology. So you have Google Wallet and you have Apple Pay existing today.
And they say no.
Yes.
Yeah, this is exactly what I said was going to happen. I mean, this is the state that we're in. Whoever's going to pay you the most and whoever's going to partner with you and give you the most promotion, that's who you're going to go to. These companies look at it as promotion for Apple and Google. They don't look at it as having a convenience for your users, for your customers. They don't care about that.
Yeah, the whole point of this is to bypass the credit card processing fees. That is the main reason why this MCX company exists.
Yeah, but you know what, John?
Which is not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, I completely understand that retailers are being, in a way, almost gouged for these transaction fees.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the way that they're going about doing this, and this is something that is just going to have to happen in the future, whereby all retailers accept, whether it's Apple Pay, Google Wallet, or this CurrentC platform. They all need to accept this, period, because that's just the way it exists right now. If it's never going to get off the ground if all platforms aren't supported.
Yeah, I don't know. You know, this is, I've always said people went crazy about this Apple Pay stuff and they were really happy about it, but we've had NFC for a long time. And we've had services that work with NFC for a long time, and it never picked up. Apple was the big name, and you know what? They could have done it, but if stuff like this is going to go on where these vendors are no longer going to give you access to it, it's dead in the water.
Yeah.
It's really, it's crazy.
I still think Apple Pay can make a go of it. I still think that they have a really good chance of making something of this. I mean, Google Wallet really has struggled since it came out, since it launched. And this CurrentC platform from MCX, nobody sees this actually working. Nobody's going to want to open up an application and
the whole point is not to use a third-party app. That's the whole point of this. Nobody wanted like that's, you know, we talk about podcasting applications and how do we make it mainstream? Well, it's only going to be mainstream when you don't have to go download an app to listen to it. If it's there in the car, if the app is already built in, if it's integrated, that's the only way that something works. Same goes for this. If it's integrated, more people are going to use it. If it's not integrated, then less people are going to use it.
How many people do you know these days that actually use QR codes?
Ah, God.
I mean, that was like a fad in like 2008, 2009, 2010.
You know, I still see business cards. Like people have business cards with a QR code on it.
Yeah, we have one, but I mean, people don't really.
No.
Nobody uses QR codes these days.
No.
And that's what I'm struggling with is their whole premise is that people are going to use QR codes to do this. When that was never a great solution for anything. I mean, taking a picture of a QR code kind of worked, kind of didn't work.
Yeah.
Sometimes it didn't work.
I
you have to line it up right.
Yeah, what did I have to scan the other day? I had to scan something. God, and I had to line it up in order to grab it. It was something crazy, and it didn't work. It took me like 20 minutes to do it. I think it was like a verification for something.
Yeah, and Curtis B in the chat room brings up a good point. With the Apple's Pay system, you don't even need to have the screen on. It just detects NFC, and you hold your thumb over the sensor for the fingerprint sensor.
Yeah, that's great. That's awesome. So let's see what happens with that. John, let's talk about the Microsoft Band, their fitness tracking band. It's it's out, right?
I think it's coming out next week.
How did Michael get one?
But it kind of leaked.
Yeah, Michael Manna, pro wrestler, tech journalist, tech enthusiast. He did a review on
go on sale $199 on Thursday. Okay, so it is.
So
out.
it is. Okay, so it went out yesterday. $199. Why don't you talk about this a little bit?
I don't really know a whole lot about this other than it's very much more of a fitness tracker than it is a smartwatch.
And I think that's the way that it should be. I think that's fine. You also get your notifications and everything on there. But for $200, I think I'm gonna go pick this up, and it works on iOS and Android. Yeah.
I think they did hit the price point on this fairly well. I think anything more than $200 for either a smartwatch or a fitness tracking band is going to be way too much.
Yeah, and apparently it's limited quantity.
What's that?
It's limited quantity. There's not many of these out.
No, I've just never been a big fan of the fitness tracking band type of stuff.
It carries...
But that's just me. I'm just not into the health fitness stuff.
So it has 10 sensors on board to measure things from heart rate to UV exposure to stress levels.
But here's the thing that I have with this is I'm trying to understand what sets this apart from the other fitness tracking bands that are out there, the Fitbit, the Nike Fuel Band type of devices.
Well, the Fuel Band is gone, right? There's no more Fuel Band. There's the Fitbit, but isn't Apple rejecting their app from the App Store?
I don't know.
So there's some issues with that. And I think that it's cross-platform. It goes a long way. Listen, there's a ton of these out there. There's a lot of these devices out there. It's just another one to the market, but it's Microsoft, and so they're going to have the marketing. So let's see. UV exposure stress. It'll last as much as 48 hours on a single charge, which is pretty good.
I mean, that's not bad. I just don't know what sets this apart from really other fitness tracking bands. I mean, that's what it comes down to me, is that it really seems like Microsoft is just kind of like, yeah, here's our fitness tracking thing to put in the marketplace so that we're not left out.
Yeah, so by the way...
And while it does seem like a decent device, I'm just trying to figure out what sets it apart.
That's a very good question. What's
going to entice people? What's their gimmick for this? Why should people buy this over other fitness tracking devices?
I don't know what... I guess the charge may be a little special. It has a good battery life compared to other ones.
But it's so strange because Microsoft really is not saying much about this. They haven't made a big deal about any of this. It leaked out, and then Microsoft said, oh, yeah, we're going to launch it on Thursday for $199. And that was the gist of it.
Yeah, it was done in a weird way, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we've been hearing
that's
rumblings
what I don't
of this.
understand. Like, they didn't make a big deal out of this whatsoever. It's just like, oh, yeah, hey, we have this fitness band coming out for $199 on Thursday.
Yeah, that's a good question. What makes this one better than the other ones?
There's been no pomp or circumstance. There's been no really any marketing for this device other than just blog articles.
So QNX Monkey in our chat room says Microsoft Watch has more features to track, and you can control what to track or not to track, while the Fitbit is just sleep and steps.
But they really haven't. Microsoft really hasn't done a very good job of explaining the differences of their device versus everything else.
Why would I get their product over something else? Yeah, and the Fuel Band is dead, right? The Nike Fuel Band.
Pretty much.
Let's see. Yeah, I
think Nike decided that they were going to focus on software or something.
Yeah, the Fuel Band is done. The Fuel Band was actually really good. A lot of people really liked the Fuel Band. And it was kind of pretty.
And I'm not saying that the Microsoft Band is a bad device. It certainly sounds like a really good device. It's okay. Well, if somebody's on the fence on these things or looking at multiple fitness tracking devices, why should they go with the Microsoft Band? What justifies the $200 price tag?
Yeah, like I'm looking at the Nike. You can still buy it, a Fuel Band, but it's nice. I mean, it's a nice looking device.
Yeah,
not bad looking. John, go into a story.
So let's talk about this Office 365 story, which is very interesting. Another Microsoft story. They came out this week and said that, and this is really fascinating, that they've made more of a bigger deal out of this than they did the Microsoft Band. Office 365 subscribers are getting unlimited OneDrive stores.
That's great.
So if you subscribe to either Home, Personal, or University of Office 365, you will get unlimited OneDrive cloud storage, which is freaking amazing that they're actually going to offer this.
Yeah, this is actually awesome. We spoke about this with Paul on What the Tech, and this is the question that I had for Paul, and I'll ask you and I'll ask the chat room here because it's a totally different audience, which is surprising. What are you going to use this for, right? You have an unlimited amount of storage. The key is to get people to start putting everything on there, but because it's linked with Office, are people automatically in their minds going to think, okay, well, I'm only going to put my documents on here? Are people going to start backing up their media?
Yeah.
Photos, videos, whatever else? Are they going to start putting it in this cloud drive? Because if they are, the fact that this is going to be integrated, it's integrated in Windows 8 and Windows 10, it's going to be even more integration there. Is this going to be the norm where a terabyte drive is not going to be necessary and you just get a 256 or 128 and you just put everything in the cloud and you access it like that? The other cool thing about this that Dropbox doesn't do is access to it.
Offline.
Offline access. So, well, no, you have offline access with Dropbox because it's always on your computer. You don't have the option to just online access.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to store so I have a lot of stuff on my Dropbox folder. I don't need to ever pull those files down, but I would like to access them when I need it once in a while. I can't do that with Dropbox. It always syncs it.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I've never liked about Dropbox is that it's all or nothing.
Yeah. Like, I want to have some files, maybe some folders. I don't want to have everything there. One thing that we do that's a little convoluted here, whenever we have a show, like Spencer, for example, Spencer records a show and then he puts it in Dropbox. I get it the following day. John can't access it on this computer. I have to take the unedited file, put it on the computer, because if I access Dropbox on this and sync it automatically, it's going to take up all the space.
Yeah.
So I don't have Dropbox enabled on this one. I would love to say, okay, you installed the Dropbox app. Do you want it offline or online? You say online access only, and you just see what's available.
Yeah.
I don't know why you can't do that.
I'm really excited that they're going to offer you unlimited storage. I am a little worried because if the past and history is anything, unlimited doesn't always necessarily mean unlimited.
Yeah.
So while I'm excited about this, I have my reservations that it will stay unlimited and it will actually be unlimited.
No, I think it'll be unlimited. I think it's going to stay unlimited. You don't think so?
Microsoft could certainly do it. It's just, there are certain worries there about unlimited not always being unlimited.
This is the new web. I mean, this is how we're going to access everything.
Picasa was a service that came out with one of the first services that came out and said unlimited storage. And turns out, no, unlimited. Yeah, we can't do that.
Yeah,
so if you really want unlimited, you're going to have to pay us more money.
Yeah. I mean,
not only that, but I think there's also some concern there whereby what happens to the data when you no longer have a subscription for Office 365? Are you locked out of accessing the unlimited storage?
That's a very good question.
I mean, I'm sure there's a way to handle that, but it's just one of those things that I do think about, especially with us as GFQ, where we have massive amounts of data, whereby if we go to a service that we're paying for, what happens to that data once we decide that we're going to do some other service that is beneficial for us?
Yeah.
So that happens over the years. We've had several changes with GFQ over the last 4 years, whereby we've had, we started out with this service with Blip. We've moved over to our own hosting, and then we moved over to Archive, and we've had other hosts for our MP3s, and so changes happen throughout the years.
Yeah, I guess it's up to, the end user. It's our responsibility to kind of say, okay, listen, this isn't the end all be all. We have to think twice about this.
And Paul kind of mentioned this on What the Tech about Microsoft needing to do a better job of explaining how to use OneDrive. At least in the way that he uses OneDrive.
Yeah, and unfortunately,
it's not always necessarily clear how you're able to use OneDrive.
Yeah, and also here's a little issue here. The experience you're going to get with OneDrive on the Mac and on Windows 7 is totally different than what you're going to get with Windows 8 and Windows 10.
The way that OneDrive and Google Drive and Dropbox work, I don't think most people, unless you've been using Dropbox regularly, have an understanding of how these cloud storage services work, such as Google Drive and OneDrive.
Yeah. We'll see what happens, John. This mask is so uncomfortable. So
I'm sorry.
It's so uncomfortable. Oh my God. I can't see. I can't.
Rage.
Yeah. John, what is Facebook? Their new app, Anonymous Rooms.
Yeah, you remember the other week that there was this rumor that Facebook was going to do this anonymous application or some sort of anonymous. I can't say that word, anonymous. Anonymous service, which is kind of ironic since it's Facebook and they've had a lot of privacy issues. This week they launched an application called Rooms, which is for iOS and I believe Android as well. And it's supposed to be this anonymous chat room type of service.
Yeah, so
I'm
this
not
exists.
exactly sure about.
Like, there's an application called Secrets, and people post
Yes.
secrets, and they'll say, like, my boyfriend is such a jerk. He forgot my birthday. And it'll say, like, hey, your friend, or I think there's another one called Whispers, and it'll say, like, hey, your friend of your friend, or your friend wrote this, and you don't know who the friend is. It just goes based on your contacts list. So I'm assuming this is how this
supposedly the way
works.
that rooms work is that you can set up a room for any sort of like subject. So let's say you have a subject on, let's say, the World Series, and people can join that room and talk about the World Series
Okay.
anonymously. I don't know why you would need to, but I'm just struggling to see the point of why this application is needed or
Yeah,
necessary.
it's a fad.
or
I mean,
useful.
really, that's all it is right now. It's a fad.
This very much reminds me of their very much botched Facebook Home service.
Facebook Home. You know, I have uninstalled Messenger on all my devices. I can't use Facebook Messenger on any of my phones. I hate the fact that everybody can message me at all times. I hate that. Two, it drains
You
the
don't
battery.
like people in general, so
No, I don't like it. I don't like it at all. Because I can't, for whatever reason on Facebook, I can't turn off the messaging from everybody. So random people message me all the time talking about like business deals. Don't message me on Facebook for business deals. If I get a Facebook message telling me like, do you have a great opportunity for me and we should link up, I'm going to block you. Sorry, that was my little rant here.
I think you need better privacy control on your Facebook.
Yeah, you know what? I don't know how to turn it off. I got so fed up. I got so
You
annoyed
go to
at
settings
something.
and click deactivate.
Deactivate my entire Facebook.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Problem
about it.
solved.
Yeah, problem solved. That's about it. That's the best thing you could do. So
There's another
iTunes-
story here that I do
Yeah.
want to go into.
Go
and
ahead.
You just started about it. The iTunes sees a 13% drop in music downloads.
Yeah, that's
with
weird.
free music more accessible than ever, music downloads are on declines. And this is coming from the Wall Street Journal reporting that music downloads on iTunes are down by 13 to 14% since the beginning of the year.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you why. People aren't downloading music; they're using Spotify. Almost everybody
Yeah.
that I know uses Spotify. They don't buy music on iTunes anymore.
I think this is just another transition period in the way that we use and consume music. Because there was that time where everybody bought, cassettes, and then everybody bought CDs, and then everybody started pirating MP3s, and then iTunes came out, and everybody started buying singles and MP3s or M4As. And now I think we're just transitioning to another phase where people are at the point where, well, in the way we consume our media, we don't necessarily need to download it. We just want to consume and listen and stream it. We don't have to purchase music constantly in order to build up our libraries anymore.
Yeah.
We have services like Spotify and RDO and iTunes Radio.
By the way,
So I think it's just another transition of the way that we consume media, whereby, yes, there was a point in time where it's just like going from cassette to CD or CD to, digital music. It's the same type of transition.
so Justin Robert Young, by the way, is practically in the same exact outfit that I'm in.
Same exact, huh?
Oh, that's so funny. He has a mask and he has a cape and he has a blue shirt. And that's crazy.
You guys should have done this yesterday for Mad Men.
I know it's nuts. Actually, he's wearing literally the same exact thing, but I went a little bit more ballsier, literally and figuratively, with my pants. That's really weird. Someone needs to like put both our photos next to each other now. That's really weird. So bizarre. I personally like. Do you buy music on iTunes? Because I still buy music on iTunes.
Occasionally I do, but there's just a lot of stuff out there. It's the way we consume media now is that we don't care to have this music purchased. We're going with the times, whatever the times are, whatever is hip and trendy at the time. That's really all we care about.
Yeah, Spotify's in. What can I say?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And it's only like $8-9 for full streaming, unlimited streaming?
I think it's $9 and you get everything. I mean, essentially, it's everything you want to ever listen to, and you get playlists.
This is
So
a
you
great
get
deal.
Yeah, I like it. I haven't used it in a while. John, why don't you go into a couple more stories? You're running it. You're me today. You're running the ship.
I definitely want to get your thoughts on this article about Deezer acquiring Stitcher. Stitcher is a online music service where we stream to that, and they also take our episodes, and people can listen to our episodes through their Stitcher application on iOS and Android. So if you really do want to listen to us on the go, Stitcher is a great way to do that. It came out this week that Deezer, which is also another music service that's, I guess, big in Europe, is acquiring Stitcher. I don't believe they said for how much.
I don't know either.
But TechCrunch reported that Deezer is acquiring Stitcher. About 1 million people are currently using Stitcher. 39 million Americans have tuned in to podcasts in the last month, which is freaking amazing that there's 39 million Americans listening to podcasts.
Yeah. I mean,
it's great for us.
It's growing. Yeah, it's definitely grown there. Deezer has 16 million users across 180 countries.
Deezer.
Do you know anybody that uses Deezer?
No, I remember hearing about Deezer many years ago, like 5-6 years ago. But it's mainly a European service. They don't have an official U.S. service yet. They say that it's coming soon. So, really, at this point, Deezer is of no use to anybody here until they officially launch, I guess. So,
Yeah.
I'm just worried about
They're gonna kill Stitcher.
what Deezer is going to do with Stitcher.
Yeah.
Stitcher says that there's no worry, they're not going anywhere. But how many times has the company said something like that?
Yeah,
after being acquired?
and we've met. You know them pretty
I
well.
love Stitcher.
Yeah, and we met Noah
It's a
and
great company. I love the people that work at Stitcher.
but unfortunately, from what I heard, they ran out of funding, and it was kind of necessary. Yeah. So we'll see what happens.
I'm just worried about where Stitcher is going to go under Deezer. Is it just going to be completely integrated? Stitcher is gone, and everything that we do like about Stitcher is gone.
We'll see.
I mean, I think it's a genuine concern.
Yeah. No, it definitely is. John, let's go into.
Yes, they say that they're not going anywhere, but I just don't know if I trust that.
Let's go into the HP story because I thought this thing was awesome, and then we could wrap up the show.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So HP had a couple of announcements. One of them was their announcement of something called Sprout, a strange 3D scanning multi-display all-in-one PC. It's an all-in-one Windows 8, PC with a set of 3D scannings, a giant tactical touchpad, and a downward-facing projector for displaying graphics onto the touchpad. HP is calling it blended reality that blends the 3D physical world with our 2D digital world. The obvious target audience here is the creative type. What are your initial thoughts on this?
I thought this was pretty cool that you could take. I mean, there's been so many moments that I've wanted to scan something like that. It's a 3D scanner, not a 3D printer.
It does both 2D and 3D scanner.
Yeah.
You could actually place a photo onto the touch surface, I guess, the touchpad, and the camera will actually take a picture of it, I guess.
Oh God, I think this thing is really awesome. It's really, really awesome.
Just because of its scanning capabilities?
Yeah. I think this is the future of these devices. If you think about the scanner market and the printer market, they're kind of they're not that big of a deal anymore.
I just find the package a little bit odd because I think
Why?
if people are actually interested in scanning, they would go and get a 3D scanner or flatbed scanner. You wouldn't necessarily need this weird all-in-one 3D computer type of thing. So I'm a little confused about how anybody who isn't very much a creative type is going to use this.
No, I think it's just the next step in these devices. Absolutely.
You really have to do a lot of 3D scanning and a lot of 3D type of applications in order to find this useful, I think.
I want to 3D scan everything.
It seems
and then
very
print
niche
everything.
to me.
It is a little niche, but it's the market. I mean, that's where I think it's going to kind of evolve, and you're going to see consumer level products having this.
It's just a little strange to me.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
I'm not saying it's horrible or anything. It's just I'm trying to see where they're going to going with this and typical applications and how maybe it can be used for more of an average consumer. I mean, me personally, even though I am a creative type, I don't have any interest in 3D scanning or the way that this computer does a lot of the projection stuff. It's just a little odd to me.
Yeah.
To just do, I think what they have to do is do a better job of selling it because they're very much right now targeting a very niche market. And I'd like to see them explain this better to a wider audience.
Yeah, I mean, they demoed it. Let's see what happens. What do you think of the 3D printers? Do you think they're going to become this huge revolution where everybody is going to have one in the house? I watched
Eventually.
this. I watched this TED conference. They were talking about the greatest invention of the 20th century, and they explained why it was what it was. So the greatest invention of the 20th century, according to this guy, was the washing machine. And he went on this entire thing, and it made a lot of sense. If you think about it, yeah, computers, cell phones, there's so many products that could be the greatest invention. But he went on this detail on why the washing machine changed everybody, and it boomed the middle class and countries that were in poverty. Once they got a washing machine, it became a big deal, and they kind of matured.
Here's the thing, as far as I understand with 3D printing, is that the technology and the pricing just isn't quite there yet for mainstream, whereby the DPI, the dots per inch, or the resolution of 3D printers still has a lot to be improved upon. And the pricing is still a little bit high for most people to really get into. And it's still somewhat of a niche thing whereby you really have to be in that world to utilize a 3D printer.
Yeah, but
I do think, maybe 5-10 years down the road, everybody's going to have a 3D printer.
Oh God, yeah. But think about the convenience of this thing, right? So you have an IKEA couch, an IKEA table, and the leg breaks, and you need to print that. You need a new leg. You're not going to go to IKEA to buy a brand new leg. IKEA is going to benefit from this tremendously because how many times have you missed, like a screw is missing or something like that? All these manufacturers are going to benefit from it. If you're missing it or if it broke, you go to the website, you print out schematics, and then it prints it.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely see one day down the road, it's going to be very much a mainstream thing, something in a household item. But
Yeah.
right now, no, it's going to be, at least 5 to 10 years before that actually happens.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. I think I'm really interested in it. Anyway, John, let's wrap it up. What do you say?
Okay. Yeah.
Show's over. I got to go put on pants. Actually, I'm not going to put on any pants. I'm going to walk around like this the rest of the day. I'm sitting here with no pants on and a knee brace. This is what I do for a living, guys. And the bulge. A lot of socks that are shoved in my pants at this point. I'm trying to find a photo here, and I can't on Facebook, and it's really driving me crazy. Anyway.
BWO, Bulge Warrior Organization.
Yeah. John, tell us where people could find us.
Subscribe and follow us. You can go to gfqnetwork.com. That's where we post all of our shows, and subscribe to us on iTunes. We're on Stitcher, like we said earlier. We're on YouTube, even if you want to go to YouTube. Follow us on Facebook, Google+, Twitter. You can follow us specifically. I'm at Suncast on Twitter. I'm not Andrew Zarian. You can follow Andrew Zarian at Andrew Zarian. He's the guy in the mask, if you're not sure who that person is.
I'm the guy I'm Wild Pegasus 9.
But you can follow Andrew Zarian at Andrew Zarian on Twitter. Am I missing anything?
No, that's it. Oh, Patreon? Did you talk about Patreon?
Patreon, yes, Patreon. You can help us out on Patreon. If you go to patreon.com/whatthetech, we have a campaign going on where if you want to just donate $1, even less than $1, if you want to donate less than $1, it'll help us out a lot. It's one of the ways that we fund both Tech News Weekly and What the Tech is through people donating, which is a really great way to do it. Also, if you buy a lot of stuff on Amazon, we have Amazon affiliate links. Go to gfq.co/Amazon. That takes you right to our affiliate ID and everything. Just start shopping right after that. If you live in the UK or Canada, we also have links for you. You can go to our website, gfqnetwork.com, and our contribute page has links for both the UK and Canada on there.
Excellent, John.
And that's it.
Excellent, John. All right, guys, that's it for this week. We will see you all next week. Bye-bye for now.